So glad you guys can see this today. Before I get started, just quick show of hands. Who of you has ever been or seen the idea shop at Kaplan here on campus? Okay, so a lot of them. I know you love it a lot, so you're going to like this project. For those of you who do not know, the idea shop at Kaplan is a workshop we have on campus for engineers and actually open for all students, in which we provide laser cutters, 3D printers, power tools, stuff like that. So it is quite a high traffic area on campus. A lot of people like to work there, especially for personal projects and their own classes. We've had an issue though at the idea shop for a while now. Can you show the first one? Yes, so that beautiful building over there is Kaplan. The little glass corner is the idea shop. We've had an issue for a while now where students aren't we can't keep track of who's safety trained, who's not safety trained, who's allowed to be in the shop and who's not allowed to be in the shop. And so people are kind of just walking in and out. We wanted to develop a solution that will help us keep track of who's coming in, keep track of who's safety trained for the specific tools that we have in there. So this is where this whole project comes in. This is the Idea Shop Kaplan portal. So we are using our IIT ID cards to basically authenticate students into the Idea Shop. So with that being said, that is why we have both a web portal, what you're looking at right now, and can you go to the VNC? And this right here is actually the screen of the Raspberry Pi. So these Raspberry Pis actually have little installations in the Idea Shop right now. 24-inch monitors sort of bolted into the wall. You would be seeing this display, the one you're seeing on the screens over there, inside the Idea Shop. Each Raspberry Pi comes paired with these little tap-in scanners. Once I tap my ID, it'll ask me to authenticate. Once I authenticate, that registers my ID card to my Google account, my IIT account. Once that's done, tapping in just instantly logs me into the Idea Shop. That's sort of basic functionality. The web portal, though, gives us a few more features. So we're given login, number one. We're also given the ability to create our trainings and view what trainings we have available. We run into this error every once in a while. This is just because our load balancer is kind of acting up with both the client and the web portal being active at the same time. You can go back to the VNC, I guess, while this is running. So in the portal, can you hit the menu? Yeah. You've got the ability to both log in, check your trainings, create trainings. So if you have an admin account, which I do, and I'll show you in a second how that works, you can assign people training, whether it's to yourself or to other accounts, just based on their user email. You also have full session control. So because you're tapping your ID at different kiosks at the shop, so I know you've seen this before, there's 3 kiosks total, one for the wood shop, one for the 3D printer area, and one for just main entry. Because there's so many kiosks going around and so many tap-ins, you need to have some way to control your sessions. So we have a whole sessions page in which you can control which places you're logged into, and you have the ability to log out of them. You want to showcase a tap-in?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you have your ID with you, or you want to use mine?
I'll use yours. So, I'm going to go to login.
So this is like an initial tap-in. Consider this as if this is your first time walking into the Idea Shop. You've just tapped in your ID. You're not registered on the system. Here, let me type in my email just so it actually ties it to my account. There we go. Once I click link, now I'm good. I'm basically tapped into the system. Tapping in again won't show me the link page, but it'll show me a welcome page. So now I'm logged in, I'm tapped in, I'm into the system, which means I also have control over what trainings I have. So if I go to my trainings page over here, you can see I have a little 3D printing training going on in progress. And if I go to the trainings control page, I can assign myself more trainings or assign this training as complete. The reason I have the ability to do that is because my email already is associated with an admin account. But if you were to tap in with your normal account, you wouldn't be able to assign yourself trainings, but you would be able to view your trainings. So that's just the basic functionality of our application. I'm going to run you through a little bit of our tech stack, how we ended up getting our Raspberry Pi to work as an external client to our web app. Can you get, yes, there we go. So this is just a crude little drawing of what services we're using and sort of the map of our tech stack. You're seeing the top end of it, so you're seeing both the client and the browser, both ways of accessing the website. That's our portal and the Raspberry Pi client. Both of them will go through the load balancer. If you're on the browser, you're going to be logging into the front ends. So 1, 2, and 3. Can you scroll down a little bit? Yeah, there you go. But if you are on the client, so if you're tapping in at the shop physically with the screens, you're looking at going directly to the backend. So you're basically overlooking all the front end stack. Because realistically, what we wanted to do is to sort of have a little containerized development. Sorry, forgot the word. We wanted a containerized development environment set up specifically for our Raspberry Pi. So we had it connect directly to the backend so that it doesn't emulate the front end. It can have its own features. It can sort of be adapted to the screens that we have set up at the shop. Do you want to give any more technical detail on the stack?
Absolutely. So this is a very high level of the stack. We actually use Google Auth to get the emails. So we don't use Google Auth for the authentication. We have an authentication layer, which we handle using cookies on the browser, and authorization headers on the backend. We expose the backend API through /server. The reason why we do that is because usually what happens is we get the data from the database to the backend. The backend interacts with the front end. The front end interacts with the load balancer, and the load balancer interacts with the browser. Adding an app to that just kind of complicates the tech stack, and the browser uses a cache, which the browser uses a cookie, which Electron supports but not really. So to solve that problem, we just expose the backend API through this /server route, and by doing that, we're able to communicate directly with the backend, just like how the front end does, without the extra layer. We also have had dev containers, and what's really good about the dev containers is it enabled us to develop in extremely production-like environments locally, and we were able to test our results before we deployed. So all we just had to focus on in deployment were the scripts, and not whether it worked or not, because we were settings mode, and yeah, that's it.
All right. So I feel like I might be hearing some security questions from you guys, so I'm going to try and answer a couple before I give you the floor. First thing, for the ID cards, we are using the hash hex codes inside the ID cards. So the IIT ID cards are HID. That means they store, if I'm not mistaken, a 6-digit hex code. That is hashed and then stored into our database. So we ourselves never handle the actual ID code, nor do we access any of the IIT APIs that control authentication. So this is sort of our own little system. It doesn't interfere with OTS, and OTS sort of doesn't interfere with us. We get to keep control of what we do, but we also don't impede on anyone's privacy, trying to basically stay FERPA regulations. And we also have Google OAuth. I don't think we showed you this portion of it, but now that my ID card is linked and I've typed in my email, I can actually log into the portal itself with Google OAuth. There you go. So what you're seeing now is the web app. This is completely different than the VNC that you were looking at earlier that was on the Raspberry Pi. But what I want to show you is that both sessions are controlled simultaneously. So you could control the sessions on the Raspberry Pi from the web app and vice versa. But yeah, the load launcher is kind of giving us trouble, unfortunately. It'll load at some point eventually. While we wait for this, anyone have any questions?
Did you guys run into any issues or problems doing integration with the hardware stuff? And
yes, the hardware.
What does that look like?
The hardware was actually sort of a big struggle of ours. The way we've set it up now is sort of to completely automate it. Once the Raspberry Pi boots up, it's going to move to the directory of our application. It's going to pull a git pull, so it's going to update its repository. It's going to then run Electron and NPM. So basically, that's launching all of the dependencies it needs to set up that GUI, and then it's going to go into full stream. So the idea is we want it to be as seamless and automatic as possible. The people at the idea shop don't want to be handling the Raspberry Pi, typing commands and links and stuff like that. We want them just to plug it in, have it pop up immediately. Setting that up was a struggle, though. Obviously, with having it to auto start immediately, having it install all the dependencies as it's going on. It's a Raspberry Pi, so its computational power is not the best. But yeah, no, it worked out at the end. Especially with Tomiwa helping us set up the tunnel into the backend, so that we don't have to go through the front end and struggle with all that. So yeah.
And you might have mentioned this and I missed it. Is it polling for updates against that GitHub repository? Or?
Yes. So the GitHub repository has the app client files inside of it. It pulls for updates every time it boots up, so that it always has the latest version of whatever we're working on.
So you got to reboot it now if you guys pushed a change?
Or we could just pull it in manually by typing the command, yeah. But yeah, we have it so that once you reboot, it updates itself, so no one has to ever manually go and update anything.
Looks like you got your sessions. Sessions?
Oh, I see. Questions?
No.
Got your sessions up. You got
Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, perfect. So yeah, now you can see we have 3 sessions going. One was one of my earlier logins, and then you've got one on the Raspberry Pi right now, and the active session that we're looking at right now. So you've kind of got full control of these sessions, and by one click log out, you're logged out of these sessions, and you're basically marked as if you have done the shop. Yep, and you can see the training is present over here as well, and all that. Any more questions?
So when you logged in with the card,
Yes.
you linked your email.
Yeah.
So you manually typed in the email?
Yes. So
But
and
you
in the
just signed in with Google.
yeah, so you have both options to sign with Google or the email. When you're coming into the shop, you just want to seamlessly tap in, right? We don't have access to the IIT API that basically ties your ID card to your name, to your email, and all of that. So we're just having you manually type in your email. That's going to associate the hashed code in your card with your email on our database.
But there's no authentication that like that email is your email, essentially?
No, it's actually just a manual type in.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's a different authentication system where
Yes.
the card is like your password.
yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Running this out here is like a security, like what happens if someone like enters in like another person's email associated with their
They end up messing up our database if the first person is not set up for it. You know, like that is a completely valid question. We actually haven't set up the security or the logic to handle that yet. But no, that's a completely valid observation. If they do try to type in an email that's already in our database, that's going to be marked as, well, this account's already been registered. If they try to type in someone else, so they're trying to spoof their ID with someone else's account, we actually haven't implemented the logic for that. So that is a good catch. Thank you for pointing that out.
So Jack, it's not really a technology problem, it's a policy problem at the moment.
Absolutely, yes.
So, wholly different type of problem to debug.
Which is most of the problem.
Yeah, could you just briefly, could you just talk about the project management roles and how you guys manage it over the course
Yeah,
of the project?
absolutely. Can you pull up the Basecamp? If you just type Basecamp, it'll show up. So we use Basecamp as most of the other groups did. Our Basecamp is kind of rudimentary. We really only use the Kanban board, and we sort of heavily assign like very small tasks. There's our Basecamp present up here. These are some of the tasks that we've been working on this sprint. Stuff that kind of is left over. This is all the stuff that we've completed as we've been working on our sprints. You can see we've tried to keep all of our tasks as like miniaturized as possible so that it's simple, it's easy to digest, we can do it very quickly. Do you have any specific questions about the project management?
So how many roles were assigned per sprint and how did you guys do the...
Oh, absolutely. So this is true for all of the groups that are working this project. You've got a project manager, someone who's working IT development and operations, 2 developers, a UI, UX, and I think that's it, right? Yeah. So those rotate every sprint. Every sprint we've got a new project manager, a new IT ops, so on and so forth. For example, this last sprint, I was IT ops. Iawar was doing project management. Tomio was one of the developers. So we sort of rotate them around. Everyone gets exposed to the different things that we're doing, the different tasks and all that. Yeah,
Sorry, I have a quick question.
absolutely.
So at the beginning of the presentation, I remember you mentioned that there was an issue with the idea shop whereby people weren't able, like you weren't able to track who was properly
Yes.
safety trained. So I was just curious, like in terms of like once you do get through the process and then you're actually into the, in the system through the OR.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, is there some kind of like database that's pulling the information to then say, okay, this specific student doesn't have access or needs to get this safety training?
With that becomes a policy problem
Yes.
because it is up to the employee themselves to keep track of who's coming in and make sure that they're safety trained.
Yes.
Because the employee can't realistically be on the terminal 24/7 observing who's safety trained and who's not.
Yeah.
The reason it exists is that if me as an employee I suspect someone of not being safety trained or not operating the machines properly, I can double check their account and I can check if they're safety trained or not. And so we are keeping a database of who's trained and who's not trained. It's just not giving you live alerts.
Right, it's not
Yeah.
part of this process, but
Yeah.
it exists.
It exists, yes. And you saw the training session, you had my little trainings complete.
Yes.
Tomiwa assigned himself a bunch of trainings, some of them complete, some of them in progress, and it'll show you what's complete and what's not complete.
I see.
And I have the power to revoke someone's training access if I feel that they were trained but they're not sufficiently trained, like they need to go through them.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
is fantastic.
I'm so happy you like it.
Absolutely fantastic and much needed. And,
Yeah.
thank you all for putting the work in this space. That, as you know, is very dear to my heart. One of the things I was going to ask, back in the day when Jeremy and I were first opening this, we had little badges that stuck onto the ID so you could see if somebody's gone through the training. Do you have
Really?
anything visual that you're
No,
running?
but that sounds very interesting. I'd really like to explore that idea. Yeah. So how does it work?
Just like this little sticker.
A little. Oh, okay. So it's a sticker that goes on the ID, and that's like how you're keeping track of it. I see. Okay. I feel like we might be able to do something more digital like that.
Yeah,
You know, like
it's
a handheld
digital.
thing that you could tap the card onto, and it'll show you what trainings are there. Yeah, I like that idea.
And there's a program that Officer Campus of Life is using that has digital badges for you guys now.
Uh-huh.
So I'll connect you there, and
Okay.
I can probably get you a list for the database of emails and ID numbers so you can authenticate and get something.
Okay.
Stop that problem.
Cool. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, team.